Welcome to another unsolicited and uneducated football analysis by your friend David Valentin. This time, a topic that is very close to my heart and to a lot of fans. And I am bringing somebody that has suffered what I consider the indignity, the disgrace of seeing their club go away. When a team dies, it's just not like closing shop on a store. Trophies go away, pennants, scarves, collars, badges, a stadium, the culture, the brotherhood that we all make with each other in the stands, the breaking of that tradition. As you guys know, I follow Stevenage in League Two in England, and Stevenage managed to stay in the Football League thanks to two disastrous events. One was for Bury to be kicked out of League One due to not fulfilling their financial commitments, and the other one was for Macclesfield Township to be kicked out of League Two and be relegated, and then kicked out of football altogether due to the fact that they failed to pay their players 7 times in the season. Now, in the United States, clubs come and go all the time. Leagues come and go all the time. That's something that happens. And when it happens in its wake, it leaves orphans, people that just don't know what to do and where to go. My club in the NASL, Puerto Rico Football Club, who was playing their games out of Bayamon, Puerto Rico, my hometown, died with the NASL, and also the nail in the coffin was Hurricane Maria. And some of those players ended up in St. Louis FC. OCB in 2017 decided to close shop, and Anthony Pulis, son of Welsh manager, very well known, Tony Pulis, was appointed manager at St. Louis FC. And he brought some of the best players that OCB had with him. Out of curiosity, I decided to go online to see if there was a podcast that will talk about St. Louis FC, because I wanted to see where those guys were going, and I wanted to follow them because personally I thought the players were fantastic. And I found a podcast, This Silly Pod, with Mitch, Brad, and our guest today, the great Matthew Bird. Thank you, Matthew, for coming.
Hey man, what's going on? And also now we've got Sarah on the pod. She's been a great addition. I think it's important to have female voices in soccer in America. I think it's important. I think she's been a great addition. But yeah, back then when you got, when we started talking on Twitter, it was just the three of us. But now we're a quartet. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. And you mentioned that in America, teams seem to go quite often. And Brad and Mitch have been through it before. They had AC St. Louis in the old they were a one-season wonder. So they've had a team and lost a team before. For me, I think I took it a little harder because it was my first go-around. In St. Louis, we lost the Cardinals to Arizona. We lost the Rams to LA. The Brad and Mitch, they're old hat at it. They've been around that block. This isn't their first rodeo, but for me, it was a brand new experience, and it took me a long time to process it. Honestly, it took me a long time. And we've all had to deal with it our days. I think I took it quite hard because I've only lived in St. Louis for 9 years, and St. Louis FC was around for 6 of those years. And it one of the things that really helped me settle in this city. My wife's from St. Louis, and she always wanted to move back home when she finished her residency and medical school. Moved around a lot. She was doing her medical school and residency and fellowships and goodness knows what. But she always wanted to end up here. And I was like, all right, well, we'll move to St. Louis. And it really helped me settle here. I mean, you grow. If you're not from St. Louis, it's a very high school orientated town. What high school did you go to? That's the thing. And if you don't have that high school circle or the college circle, you come in here blind, and it's kind of hard to make friends. It's hard to to find something. And I'm a member of American Outlaws in Ohio, and then I joined American Outlaws in St. Louis when I moved here. And someone there said, "Hey, you are looking to these Looligan guys. You know, they do what we do, just on a more local level." And I joined up and I started hanging out with them. And we didn't have a team back then. It was a PBL team and an indoor PASL team that we used to go watch. But they really did help me establish myself in St. Louis. And once I started showing up regular, you know, they had me on the podcast once as a guest, and I just kept showing up. I just kept showing up to the podcast, and I think they eventually just said, "Yeah, Matt's on the podcast now." So, and I do it. I enjoy it, and I'm all in on St. Louis soccer, man. It's been a ride.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt. So obviously, people can hear on your voice that you are not a native from St. Louis. So where are you from in England, and how come you ended up in, well, you already sort of explained how you ended up in St. Louis, but how do you end up in the United States?
Well, I'm from Manchester in England originally. I was born in Wythenshawe, which is, I think it was one of the biggest projects that was built after the Second World War. Grew up in a small suburb called Sale, which is famous for rugby. It's not even famous for soccer. It's famous for a rugby team. It's actually 5 miles from Old Trafford, where Manchester United play. And then I went to college in Stockport, which is about 6-7 miles in South Manchester. I went to college in Liverpool for a couple of years. And, I met a girl, and here I ended up. I've lived in St. Louis, Ohio, Michigan, traveled all over. It's been a ride, but as I said, I feel pretty settled here in St. Louis. I like the town. It reminds me of home. You know, it's a blue collar town. The guys, everyone goes to work in the morning. They like a beer. They like their sports. They spend a week on vacation in Destin every year. It's very, very similar to what I grew up with, and I feel at home here.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's go into the nitty gritty here. Let's talk about St. Louis FC. And as I mentioned, Anthony Pulis was appointed a manager. Just a little review for those of you that are Orlando City fans or new to Orlando City. Anthony Pulis was a player here in Orlando from between 2011 and 2014. He was an assistant in MLS in 2015. In 2016, he took over as manager of Orlando City B between 2016 and 2017. And from 2018 to 2019, he was the manager of St. Louis FC. Right now, Anthony finds himself in his second year as an assistant in Inter Miami in the MLS. His father, Tony Pulis, a Welsh player who started with Bristol Rovers. And those of you that follow my channel because of Stevenage, well, how about that 2-0 victory today over Bristol Rovers? And his last managerial appointment was last year, 2020, with Sheffield Wednesday, which saw them relegated from the Championship to League One. So that is how Anthony Pulis comes to the United States, how he ends up in St. Louis. Now, I mentioned that several players from Puerto Rico Football Club and OCB ended up there. These are from OCB, Albert Iqua, also a graduate from Mount Verde Academy. Those here in Orlando know this as a factory of football talent here in the United States. Jake Fenlinson, Austin March, who unfortunately has retired from professional football. I always saw this guy being an MLS guy, super speedy, and unfortunately injuries took him out of the game. And then from Puerto Rico Football Club, Fanuel Cavida and Kyle Culberson. And special introduction here, Corey Herzog, a player that is beloved in Orlando thanks to his time with Orlando City in the USL. All right, so St. Louis FC is basically a team that was in PDL and which is now USL League 2, and you guys get granted to a franchise in USL Championship, what is today the second division of American football. Can you take us through that environment, what it was like to follow this club? Of obviously at the beginning, there was not a lot of success, but I'm a firm believer that adversity galvanizes a fan base, and when football takes away, it gives back in a huge way. I know when you guys made the playoffs, I think I almost cried about it because I saw the emotion from the players and from the fans, and when I listened to that pod from you guys the week after, I don't know how you guys contain yourselves from jumping, because it was everything that you guys wanted. You finally arrived, and let's not forget also that fantastic run into Open Cup that saw you guys going all the way to face Atlanta United in the quarterfinals. So if you can take us through all that.
Well, let's start at the beginning then. So I was on vacation. I'd gone back to England to see my family, and we took a couple of days in Denmark before we came home. And I was sat in a hotel in Denmark, and I don't know, Ewan's probably 2 at this point, so we're going back 2014 maybe, and Mitch messages me and says, "Hey, hurry home, big news." I'm like, all right. And it turns out that we have a PDL team called the St. Louis Lions, and they play out in the suburbs out in West St. Louis, and we always thought if we were ever going to get a USL team, it was going to come through them because they have the USL rights essentially in St. Louis. But then outfit, St. Louis Scott Gallagher put in a bid for a USL club. And St. Louis Scott Gallagher, a little background on they are the behemoth of St. Louis soccer. And you can just reel off names like Taylor Twellman, Brad Davis, Josh Sargent, Will Bruin, yeah. Players galore have come out of they've just come out of this program, and I'm probably blanking on a bunch, but they're just all over it. And USL as well is just littered with Scott Gallagher guys. Josh Mann, Jack Ma, sorry, Nashville came through there. I mean, it's just a factory. So it was a Scott Gallagher. They kind of separated it off. They wanted to embrace the whole city, so they called it St. Louis FC. And I first met the GM of the club when I came back from vacation. I met him, and just speaking to him, I was sold. I was bought and sold. I listened to what he had to say. He said, "Look, we want everything to be determined by what happens on the pitch." He hates the phrase minor league soccer. It's not minor league soccer, it's professional soccer. No different to people who go on Alexandra or, your Stevenage or my Stockport. It's professional. These guys are earning a living, and it's a job. And everything determines by what happens on the pitch. He said, minor leagues, they have confetti guns, they have T-shirt guns, they have crazy mascots, they have bobblehead nights, and so on and so forth. We're not doing that. We're going to be a professional soccer team, and we need you in the stands to embrace that. And I think the American soccer fan understands that. That's what they want. They see that at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning around the world, and they want that. They don't want razzmatazz. They want, the meat and potatoes of living and dying by what happens on the pitch. Unfortunately, the first couple of years with St. Louis FC, it was a little turbulent. Let's put it that way. I think they looked at. The league a couple of years before that when Sacramento won it, when there was only 8 teams in the league, and they based all their decisions from that rather than the evolution the league was taking. And I think they were behind the 8 ball a little bit, but it was still fun, man. It was our team, and it was still fun, and we were still packing the house. We were regularly getting 4,500 people out to a stadium that's 14 miles from downtown, which isn't that far, but local geopolitics wise, it's be out in the rural farmlands. And it was fun, and that's really where the Louligans took off. You know, before that, we were 12 drunk guys going to watch the PDL team. We morphed into 300, 400, 500 people packing 2-3 supporter sections in our stadium, and it was everything I wanted it to be and then some. And even though the results were, you know, I can still look back with fondness for those. It was a great time, and you know, and I think as in the 8 ball a little bit to begin with. After 18 months, almost 2 years, our coach was relieved, and I'm not going to say fired because he wasn't fired by the club. He still works for the club. He still does things for the club. I will respect Dale Shilley, our initial coach, until my dying breath. He is just a font of knowledge for football. But I think the league moved away from him, and I just think we needed to take. I will never say a bad word. Dale Shilley, our coach. We went too far though. We went to the other extreme and hired Preki. You know, you remember back then. Where's Preki hashtag? Where's he at? He's going to Leicester. No, he's not. We hired the most sought after coach in American soccer. We thought we were going to be winning trophies and running the table, and it was the right hire at the wrong time. Because the day we unveiled him, I'll never forget the day we unveiled him. I said to him, you know, in the league with Sacramento, you've been a 2-year hiatus. You watch the league now. Where do you think it's at? And he says it's not as good. And I immediately took a step back, and I'm like, what? Well, you've got all these new teams, and it's diluted all the talent. And I'm like, I did not like that at all, because from what I could see, this league, the USL, was just making improvements in pounds. And honestly, the case that the season was an absolute disaster. It was an absolute mess, you know. And as much fun as the Dale Shilley years were, and we weren't winning, the Preki year, man, we were at each other's throats. It was a brutal season. It was awful. It was awful. We got a little unlucky. Our captain broke his leg in the first game, and you know, you sometimes think what could have, would have, should have happened had that not happened. But it was just a disaster. And we were going through the first MLS go around with St. Louis then, and that there had to be a public vote on that stadium, and that got declined by the voters, so that the MLS bid fell apart. And I think once the MLS bid fell apart, a lot of people, including maybe Preki and a couple of players, thought, well, there goes my shot at MLS. But it just disintegrated. The season just disintegrated. And then we get to where I meet you, and is Tony English, and we get a bunch of those players in that you already mentioned. And I thought we made a marked improvement. And I say that on the pref. Under Anthony Pulis, we only played one playoff game, and we got hammered 4-0. But it was just a marked improvement, and I think there was reasons. There are reasons why we only played the one playoff game, and we'll get to that. But the Pulis seasons for me, I look back really fondly on. The first season we had Corey Herzog, and we had Austin Marks. We had Lewis Hilton. Lewis Hilton's now playing at Tampa Bay Rays. Excellent player. He went to Young Harris, Georgia, and they're another one of those factories that you mentioned. That just, it's a low profile program, but they just churn out quality professional footballers. That I don't think they're ever going to set the world alight, but just another factory of journeyman American professional soccer players. But in that 2-year spell that we had on Pulis, from June to June, so it wasn't like a full season, but you break up the second half of his first season with the first half of his second season, we lost 3 games. We went a whole calendar year only losing 3 games. And I was actually on the podcast with Jake Fennelson, and I mentioned that to him, and he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you go back to this date. He's like, we've only lost 3 games. One of them was a worldie. One of them was a fluky last-minute winner, and the other one was at Phoenix, and we all know what Phoenix are doing with, and they had Didier Drogba at the time. So, I mean, we were a real team. We were a really good team, and that first year with Pulis, we did get to the playoffs, and we had to go to. We didn't sneak in as an 8th seed, but we needed a point in our last game to guarantee it. And in the game, we'd have probably finished 6th or 7th, but we got a draw, and we ended up finished 8th. How it all shook out, and we got in as the 8th team. We had to go to Orange County, and after 1-0 down, after 20 minutes, we were down to 10 men, and it just, what are you going to do? You're playing one of the best teams in the league with 10 men away from home for 85 minutes, not 85, 75 minutes. You're always going to struggle. So then a second year comes, a lot of the same, maybe a couple of changes. We lost Herzog, and I liked Corey. I got a lot of time for Corey. He was very good with the fans. He does his smoothie mornings. He didn't have a great season because I think how he was told to play by Pulis. For me, I think if Pulis had signed him from Pittsburgh and said, just do what you did at Pittsburgh for me, he'd have got 12, 13 goals. But he only ended up with 3 on the season. And I think, we released him, and we also had Kyle Gregg, and Kyle Gregg, he was a Golden Boot winner, I think, when he was with the Vancouver 2. He went to Cincinnati and was very good with. He's just scored goals wherever he's gone. So and 3 years, and just a consummate goal scorer. And he's now gone to Louisville City, and he's banging in goals for Louisville City. He's just he just knows where the net is. But that second season with Pulis, we had that run in the Open Cup, and it started off really dodgy. We had to go away to Des Moines Menace, who are a PDL powerhouse, a USL League 2 powerhouse, and they took us all the way to extra time and penalties, and we had an 18-year-old in goal who saved our neck. Then we played forward Madison. We smashed them 3-0. Every Flamingos and all that crazy stuff they do up in Madison, we smashed them. And then we played Chicago. And we played Chicago Fire, who, let's face it, man, they are not an MLS powerhouse. They're a bit of a basket case. But what you have to remember, we had torrential rain that May, and our field got flooded out. So we went 3 weeks without playing because we didn't have anywhere to play. And then we got to play Chicago. And we've had to play it on a college field. And an away game. Honestly, we all rooked up at this college in St. Charles, Missouri, which is 15, 16 miles away from downtown. And it felt like an away game. And we'd not seen each other for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It was like a homecoming. And it just felt right. You just knew something was. And in the Stanley Cup final, everything was going well. And then the first 10 minutes of that game, man, Chicago had us on the back foot, and we're like, this ain't going well. And then all of a sudden, man, Austin Mart scores a diving header. You know, from a lone counter attack, Austin Mart scores. And Austin Mart's 5'0" nothing, man. He's not a big boy, but he just gets his head on this ball and puts us 1-0 up. And holy cow, dude! 2 minutes later, Gaia Bend scores, and we're 2-0 up, and we're absolutely roasting them. And they're fighting with each other in the stands, and we closed the game 2-1. And honestly, it was one of the foremost memories in my mind supporting this club. Then we got to play Cincinnati, who were in their first year in MLS. And again, like Chicago, you know, we all know what FC Cincinnati's going through right now. They're having a time of it, but they're still a professional MLS team. You know, they're still handy. And Sam Fink, in the last minute, dude, the last throw of the dice, he scores at a tower. Sam Fink from Edwardsville, Illinois, which is 5 minutes over the river. Local boy, captain. He played with St. Louis FC for 5 seasons of the 6 we existed. He came through the Scott Gallagher system. We want to build a statue of Sam Fink and put it by the downtown stadium. I mean, he meant to us. We went berserk. We beat, and I think that's still the last. I think that's still the last time FC Cincinnati played an Open Cup game. Is the one they lost to us. So, you know, we've still got that. So then we play those 5 stripes down in Georgia, and you know, they dissed us, man. We didn't play at Mercedes-Benz. They put us in their little piss pot little Kennesaw State, beat us 2-0. But you know, we held our own. And you know, not many USL teams are going down there and coming with anything away from Atlanta United. And we got to the quarterfinals of the Open Cup, and it was everything, Dave. It was everything that soccer should be. I remember I came away from one Open Cup game following the Louligans. We'd gone to Sporting KC in our first year, and we took two coaches. We had 200 people in the away end. We were drowning out the KC fans, and we got beat 1-0. Team with Dwyer, Beasley, I think Jimmy Mealy. I think it was their first team, and they beat us 1-0. And it was and I said, getting back on the coach, that's football, guys. There is nothing we do every week that they don't do around the world as fans. And I think I've made this point often. There is nothing the American soccer fan doesn't do week in, week out that they don't do around the world. You know, we're past the inferiority complex. We're honestly, you know, we need to get over that. I took you and my to Old Trafford in 2019 to watch Manchester United. And I'm sat there at Old Trafford, and I've got 2 drunk guys in front of me who are drunk, just singing. I've got the singing section in the corner to my left. Old guy behind me just pissing and moaning about the referee. If I closed my eyes, I could have been at St. Louis FC. There is nothing they do at Old Trafford that we don't do in the USL. It's just the same. I went on the Saturday after that. I went to the Stockport game. They were playing Dagenham and Redbridge, and Ewan was stood behind the goal with about 5 or 6 other kids, which is what he does at St. Louis FC. There's nothing we do in America as a fan that they don't do around the world.
And I'm glad that you're bringing that up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that people wake up in the morning at 9 a.m. and watch Liverpool versus, or they'll watch Borussia Dortmund versus Wolfsburg, and they'll close their eyes and they'll look at it and they'll be like, I wish we had that here. Well, let me tell you, dude, you do. Just go find it. Just go find it.
No, Matt, I mean, you nailed it, because one of the things that personally, when I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter a lot, people are like, hey, I live in whatever city in Oklahoma. I want to follow MLS because I saw the Gold Cup and that got me excited about soccer. And my answer to them is always the same one: is go find yourself a local team and follow it, because we are not in the United States, and I'm speaking to you that probably uh, by accident ended up in this in this episode in this YouTube channel. We cannot build culture if we are about 7 a.m. on Saturday morning to watch a team in a city that you probably will never be, a community you are not part of, in a country that you've probably never been. It's easy to get riled up and saying, hey, those guys have figured it out. We have figured it out here in the United States as well. And as you were going through this memory lane tour, Matt, I, when you view this video, you're gonna see, hey, your face changed. I was with you. We all were with you in that uh, travel. I remember everything. I remember that Open Cup run, which was fantastic, which ended up with Atlanta defeating you guys, moving on, and then coming to our house and defeating us 2-0. In you know what really made me really upset about that cup run was that the Atlanta fans really did not put a lot of stock into the Open Cup trophy. They're like, oh, it's just like a Party City trophy, they called it. And here they go and they win it, and they get to CCL berths. And excuse everybody for the noise in the background. And they get to CCL berths because of that championship, because obviously in 2020 was not played.
Hey, let me tell you, Dave. Let me tell you, the way Atlanta are playing now, they'd love to win the. They'd love to win it right now.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, that they're our rivals, so I know. But again, I remember on a tangent, Matt. I remember that they will come into our timeline and say, "Hey, we're so good that we can go and defeat any team in the Scottish Premier League." And my answer to that was, football is cyclical. You can never get too high. You can never let a victory get to your head or a defeat to your heart. I've been watching football since the 1994 World Cup is what introduced me to the sport. Then after that, I joined the Navy, and I spent too many nights with guys from the Royal Navy in bars, listening to their stories and watching football on TV. Back when, this is the mid 90s, 94, 94, 95, 96, 97, that era, where now you're starting to see live football outside of the country of origin. This was revolutionary back then. To many of the people that are watching this video that were born in the late 90s or in the 2000s, are like, it's on TV right now. You got ESPN Plus, you got all sorts of ways of catching your teams. But I know of people that used to tell me, hey, somebody back home will record the games and send them to me in a VHS tape, and I will get to watch them, 2 or 3 months later. So I want to touch about the Louligans as a supporter group. Here in Orlando, we have the Iron Lion firm and the Ruckus. Iron Lion firm split away from Ruckus before the 2011 season, and merged. Actually, they were called the Iron Lion, and they merged with the 407 firm to make the ILF. We haven't had splinter groups. There's subgroups within those supporter groups. This whole time, Louligans has been the only representatives of St. Louis FC. As we're transitioning, and I don't want to get too far ahead on the story, but as we're transitioning to St. Louis City SC in MLS, I know that you guys have mentioned that there's other groups, and you invite that. You're like, hey, you don't have to be in our group. You can start your own thing, but we want to come together as a unit, because on game day, these groups, they put their differences, I guess you will, to the side, and the focus is support the club. What's going on with the Louligans and all these splinter groups? And I know, Matt, that you have been very critical and I am like that. Trust me, I'm in your camp, of people that never supported a USL team, and then magically now there's a lot of interest in supporting the MLS team.
All right, so let me hit on the first point you made there about the Louligans. we are. I think we are an umbrella group. We have a couple of subgroups within. We've got 4 or 5 guys that call themselves the Shoot Boys. Stand in the corner and yell "shoot it" whenever someone gets a side of goal. Or we've got a new group called the Thieves, which is a very welcoming group for marginalized and discriminated groups. That maybe someone that's kind of maligned by mainstream society. They want to get involved with this, but they don't know if they'll be accepted. They're trying to be that very accepting group of people that will say, no matter what you are in life, you can come stand with us. You can come stand with us. And then so we have the Louligans, and then we have, and we don't have another group. There is a group called Boone's Brigade, which is a group of guys that live out near me, actually, in St. Charles County, and they're a small group that they didn't latch on to us, but they were in the supporters group, and but they showed up every game. They showed up every game, and we have quite a cordial relationship with the Boone's Brigade, and looking forward to St. Louis City. I think that's how it's going to be. I think you are going to have subgroups and maybe splinter groups to a degree, but I think we are all going to come under the Louligan umbrella. I do think there was people out there waiting to see the Louligans fall. I'll be honest with you. I think there was people waiting for the MLS team to say, "No, on the Louligans here." We're starting our own group. We're going to do what Charlotte does and have a front office based supporters group. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we have a decent. It got off to a rocky start, but I think we've come to a very good understanding of where we're at and what we would like to achieve. And ultimately, as you say, at the end of the day, you all come together because you're all on the same side. We are going to all be on the same side, and we all want to see local soccer here succeed. So I don't know how it's going to be in 2 years exactly, but I do think it's going to be the Louligans as the main umbrella group. And there have been other people try and start things up, and they think that it just takes a Facebook group and a Twitter account. It's not that, man. It takes so much more than that. And I've had to take a step back from what I was doing, and I wasn't doing much for the Louligans. Believe me, I was there, and since I had the twins, I've had to take a real step back. And Sarah, I see how much work Sarah and Brad and Mitch do, and the tailgate crew, and the TIFO crew, and the drum corps. How much work they do, and if you just think starting a supporters group is a Facebook group and a Twitter account, you're doomed to fail, man. You are so doomed to fail. And on one of the very first meetings I met with Vin Coe, who was one of the first employees for the St. Louis City, I said to Vin, no matter what happens from here on out, look who does the work. Look who does the work. I said, the Louligans have a track record of doing the work. You may not agree with what we do, but we do it. I do think that we found a common understanding there. If you join a Facebook group that says City SC fans and go, okay, these are my people now. First game in 2 years, and you're just a Facebook group of people, 5 or 6 guys that show up for the game. But over here, you see the Louligans with a tailgate trailer and barbecues and a beer keg on tap, and they're selling scarves and T-shirts, and they're all laughing and joking and getting drunk. Who are you going to go stand with? Who are you going to go stand with, Dave? We do the work. And functional family, don't get me wrong. As I said to you in that Preki year, we were at each other's throats, man. And I was probably one of the worst, because I wanted that team to succeed so bad.
No, I'm like you, man. I want to win. If I'm gonna do it, I want to win. I want to be the best.
I was promised winning football from Preki, and he didn't come. And in the end, don't get me wrong, we got it in the end with Pulis, and a lot of people weren't sad to see Pulis leave, because You know, 5 games to go, we needed 1 point, and we lost 5 games on the bounce. And man, how did we do that? How did we do that?
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, if I can be
we
devil's advocate,
had the Open Cup run, dude. You know, and the Open Cup run took away from what we were doing in the league, and it was a trade-off, and I get that. But also, Pulis is a young coach, and if you're a young coach, allow him to make young coach mistakes. So we got rid of Pulis, left and went to Miami, and then we brought in a hometown guy, Steve Tripp, the Scott Gallagher guy, played for the US, first American to play in the old European Cup / Champions League, played for Sparta Prague. You know, we got hit coach at the switchbacks, and I think he knew last year, so there was no pressure on him. He just went for broke, man, and we played really well.
yeah, if I can be devil's advocate, I'm sorry, if I can be devil's advocate, also we have to understand that Pulis left because he had an opportunity in Miami, when over there in St. Louis, the writing on the wall was saying, "Hey, this is our last season and it's over." I mean, like you said, the supporter group culture, to me, a supporter group is an advocate of the fans, regardless if they are members or not. They are basically the quality control of the club. You know, if when things go bad, those are the guys that rile up the forces and everything. Supporter groups, my friends, are not for drinking. I mean, yeah, there's just part of it, right? Part of socializing and everything. But if your supporter group is not doing anything aside from getting together and just hitting the drums and chanting some things and then going home, it defeats the purpose of having a supporter group in my eyes. But one of the things, Matt, that I want us to talk about is the fact that you guys are all excited that MLS is coming to town. You moved on from the old PDL days into USL Championship, and now you're going to the promised land. You're at the shore of the Jordan, about to cross that river, and you hear the news that St. Louis FC is not going to be the club moving on. It's going to be a new thing, a new entity with new colors, a new badge. And I know that rubbed you guys the wrong way. I know a lot of the fans were really upset about that, because they're like, again, to the friends that are listening and watching, there's a lot of emotional stuff that we put on that badge, on the collars. You know, I mean, what's the first thing that players do? They slap the badge, they kiss it, they pull it. I mean, that to completely go away, to me, was, if I may be honest, it was a little, it was cruel to the fans, to the guys that have soldiered on all those years, drumming the support for MLS to come to town. So I want you to tell us how you guys took the news, how it felt like. Obviously, new colors, new badge, new name. And it feels to me that the FC is going to be buried in the history of football in St. Louis. It's just going to be a trivia question. But to those who were there, which you guys are going to become the minority, I'm telling you right from experience, when I was going to the Orlando City and USL, we all knew each other. It was a little tribe. And in the stadium, I recognized them, and we say, you know, we point at each other, we say hello to each other. But now we are overwhelmed by all these people that came for the glitter, for the caca, for the nannies, and the big stadiums and all that. So I just want you to tell us how you guys got the news, how you felt about it, and how it felt to go to your rival's house, Louisville City FC, and play that last game, and to receive standing ovation by even the guys that 2 minutes ago were just wishing that you broke a leg and that you didn't score. And now that you guys earned that respect from the fans, because again, it's a tragedy, it's a sad day when a club basically calls it a day.
Where do I start with that one, man? I understand that I am in the minority. When I sit here and say I didn't want to go to MLS, I understand that I'm in the minority. I loved St. Louis FC, and I was content. It was enough for me. USL was enough for me. I think it's a decent league. I think it's a good league. I think it's a hard league. I think it's a worthy league of your support. I enjoyed it immensely, and it was my club. hands down, it was Michael Curry, Jeremy Allenbaugh, Nick Dawes, Tyler Tetzlaff, all the front office people, Cara, Jones, Tim Leonard, Steve Trittschuh, Max Ferdinand, Max, the assistant now in the 11. Just, it was a family, and I understood it's all gonna change now. But I know I'm in a minority, and I know that a lot of people wanted MLS. A lot of my friends, for the first vote, when we had to vote for MLS, went knocking on doors, they went canvassing, they put a lot of work in. Absolutely destroyed when the vote got rejected for public funding. And a little part of me, when that got declined, a little part of me was like, well, I've still got my team, you know. There was always a possibility it was going to get resurrected. You know, I think St. Louis is a good market, a good sports town, and there was always going to be the plan to let's do it again, but let's do it differently. So it comes along with the Taylor family, who own Enterprise Rent-A-Car, that they're going to put the money in, they're going to build the stadium, and we're going to have MLS. And there's no vote this time. You know, all privately funded. And so we're like, okay, and Jim Kavanagh, the owner of St. Louis FC, is involved with this. Okay, I'm like, okay, let's go. We'll have St. Louis FC, you know, go MLS, just like Nashville, same colours and badge, pretty much. FC Cincinnati, same stuff. In Montreal Impact kept the same colours and name, and Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, Minnesota Loons. You guys, y'all kept the same basic brand name. It's the same, and it's not. It's a franchise, not a club, and I get the differences, but it's still the same basic entity. What do you mean we don't? Hang on. What do you mean we don't get to keep that? I know with tattoos, they have got on them forever. What do you mean we? What? Why us? Why do? Well, hang on a minute. We're folding next year. You know, your natural reaction was, well, okay, we'll play up to 2022. We'll stop playing and we'll go up to MLS. That's what every other club's done. What do you mean we have to stop now? You know, and you just, I'll be the. I took it badly. I think a lot of us did. We were like, what's going on here? Why? What is this happening to us? Every other fan base keep it, and then just made the step. Got to keep everything they were doing in the, you know, and it took me a long time to get my head around that. It took me a long time, man, and maybe I didn't process it very well. I probably didn't, you know, and I know that's my problem. I've got to deal with it, and I've got to find something else to do on Saturday nights. You know, this time 2 years ago, Saturday night, I'd have been watching an USL game instead of talking to you, but I'm not. You know, there is a slate of USL games going on right now, and I'm not watching them because I don't have a dog in the fight anymore. What else do I do? And I've had to find other things, and the Louligans have had to find other things to fill that void. And we're getting there, and you know, you go through the 5 stages of grief. You know, bitterness, anger, denial, and you know, it has felt like a death in the family, man. I don't want to embellish it,
no,
but
I understand.
It was rough for a while, but that's, you know, I'm in the minority. A lot of people in this town won that MLS stadium. They won that MLS team. For me personally, I think one of the biggest successes MLS has done in American soccer is perpetuate the myth that they're the only soccer worth watching. And it's, you know, it's really not. But I come and I have to rationalize it I grew up in a city where I could go watch Manchester United in front of 70,000 people, or I could go watch Bury or Altrincham, Staley Bridge, or Stockport in front of 200, 500, 1,000 people. I had a choice of what level of soccer I wanted to watch. Here in St. They've never had the opportunity to watch top flight soccer since the old NASL days. You know, a whole generation and the 70s have never had. So who am I to begrudge them that? You know, I can have my opinion and I will state my opinion, but I also, if I've got a friend out there that says, Matt, I want to watch better soccer, who am I to begrudge him that? You know, really. But again, there's a trade-off. You know, what with the USL team for me was the fact that I could go watch training whenever I wanted. You know, I could just sit there, watch the guys train, and it was open training. You could talk to the players as they came off the field, have a laugh with them, coach about the other game, the last game, what he's planning for the next game. Did he watch the Louisville game? You know, so it was a lot more open. And you know, I used to take I took Ewan, who's now, but I started taking him when he was 5 years old, and he would just run around the stadium. I could just let him go, and everyone know, oh, that's Bird's kid. You know, they'd look out for him. It was a family, as you say. You know, they all knew it was Ewan stood there. I'm not going to be able to do that in this big stadium. I can't let him run around with 20,000 people there. You know, it's going to be different, and I've actually put my deposit down for seats because I can't have him running around like he used to. You know, it's going to be different, and I understand it's a step up, but it's also a step away from, you know, the more intimate environment that what we're used to. But again, whilst St. Louis City is going to be my MLS club, it's you and two twins, it's going to be their team. You know, they're all in. It's not for me, and I have to accept they're not building this for me. I'm a 45-year-old grumpy old man. It's for the kids. They're going to grow up with it, and they're going to, you know, you hope if they're good enough, they don't want to play for. So, you know, my time has passed me by in the fact that I feel that I help, you know, support St. Louis FC and would talk and give my opinions to the front office on what I thought was happening. I have to take a step back, and I've mentioned this to you a couple of times. I've taken a step back. It's another generation time now to help build this club, and it's on them. I'm just going to be the grumpy old guy. I'm going to sit there and watch the football team and you know, let the chips fall where they may.
And Matt, from a grumpy 45-year-old man to another, I gotta tell you, man.
I see your tweets on Twitter, man. I know you're.
Yeah, man. I gotta tell you, everything that you have said has resonated with me, because the journey that you're about to partake on, I already walked that journey. It's sad, man. Even though the color's still the same and the badge has to change because MLS is a different entity.
Yeah.
The intimacy that you were talking about. I miss that. My kids have been going to the stadium since they were toddlers. Now my kids are in middle school. My oldest son is in 8th grade. So, you know, already looking into high school. They play the sport because of Orlando City. They were not very good, but they managed to lift a trophy twice. I was super excited. I think I almost broke my son's ribs when they won that first championship. I hugged them. I just went bunkers. This sport is such a passion, and for me, so much because I never got to play it because I'm part of this generation in the United States where my parents were not wealthy enough for me to go to a club, and you know, and I played all sorts of sports: American football, baseball, basketball. I never got to play the sport that I really love. It's just a passion. Now take us to where we are today with St. Louis City. What's going on? What's going on with the stadium? What's going on with the club itself? And how has the relationship between the St.louligans and the club has, how's that relationship? Are they reaching out to you guys? Are they trying to do things that they feel that the fans are gonna like?
I think we got off to a rocky start because I think it took them by surprise just how into St. Louis FC we were. And I think to a degree, they were a bit naive at the beginning. This is my own personal view. I'm not speaking for my own personal view. That when they were awarded the MLS bid, I think there was an attitude there of, we're bringing you the soccer. And I think that's a bit MLS 1.0. Aren't you happy with the soccer? Well, we already have the soccer. We have, in St. Louis, we have a USL team, 2 PDL teams, an MPSL team, a UPSL team. We have the soccer. You turn on the TV on any given channel, we have the soccer. And I think that rubbed people up the wrong way. It rubbed me up a little bit the wrong way, honestly. But I sat down with Vin, who was one of the first employees of the club. And like this, we were just sat around and talked football. We just sat around and talked football. And we had a very good conversation, not just about St. Louis City, football. And I think if you can just sit down and talk football to people, you will find a lot of confidence. And then City hired a guy called Matt Seebeck, and he worked for Jim Kavanagh at his Worldwide Technology, the big behemoth. And Matt Seebeck, came to St. Louis FC. He saw us and what we do week in, week out. He knew what we were about, and he's going to be an ally of ours. And he knows that while we may clash on certain issues, we will support this football club. And they have done things for the Louligans, like they've had an event at the stadium, and then they've all come out. They're allowing us access to the sporting director for a podcast. They took Brad and Mitch off to Sporting KC on a media junket. We're on the same page, and it took a while to get there, but we're on the same page, I think. And the last structural steel beam went up this week. It's starting to look like a stadium. A lot of people in town are excited about it. I couldn't give a toss. Yeah, it's a construction site, but again, I don't want to toot my horn, but I grew up with 5-6 soccer stadiums around me. It's nothing new. The people that are excited, they've never had this, and I get that. Be excited. Be excited for football. And I had to. You mentioned, I know, the guys that used to follow USL. Where were you? Where were your 15,000 new fans now when you were playing in USL? There is that, and I have to not do that. If someone's excited for soccer, I can't say, well, where were you 3 years ago, dude? I can't, and I want to. I want to. I'm like, but I can't. I have to be to say, welcome to soccer. Welcome to this sport, man. We love it. Have fun. It's gonna
Matt,
it's gonna break your heart, but yeah.
That's human nature, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And I this is the first time I'm telling this story on any podcast that I've ever been invited to, my own on this YouTube channel. One of the things that completely destroyed me was we were in the playoffs in 2014, and we were playing against the Harrisburg City Islanders, which then turned into Pan FC. I believe they have disappeared, if I'm not mistaken. And I wanted to go to the game, but then I was like, you know what? we're gonna steamroll over these guys. We're gonna go to the final like we do every year, and and I decided to save the money. What I did not know, and you guys can watch this game. It's on YouTube. Um, they came to town with 7 loanees from Philadelphia Union for their starting 11. They beat us 1-0 on a goal that I did till this day. I don't know what happened. As a matter of fact, when you guys had Corey on your podcast, I actually asked one of the questions I wanted to know because I was still puzzled, like what happened that night, and his answer was, "Oh, we tried everything and the ball wouldn't go in." And at the end of the day, and you guys can go into your podcast, into your library, and listen to his answer. And he just I mean, there were MLS players. What are we supposed to do? And so we were out. That meant USL was over. The supporter group starts chanting MLS, MLS. And all I could focus on was on players like Rob Valentino, who most of you know because he was the interim manager of Atlanta United this past few weeks. Just face first on the pitch crying because he knew that he wasn't going on. He wasn't moving on with the club.
Yeah.
And while at the time it felt like, oh, well, you beat us, but guess what? We're going to bigger and better things. I think it was a little bit insensitive from the supporters because there was a lot of people on that pitch that for 4 years put that brick on the wall, build that foundation, and we were just dismissing them. We knew that we're not coming along. And to me, that it was just a devastating night. And to know that you're moving to this big thing. And that was in September, October of 2014, as I said. Come March 2015, there's 63,000 people to watch New York City and Orlando City on their first game in MLS. And my reaction, just like you said, was, where the hell you been? What happened when we were trying to drum up support? Orlando City managed to get at least 3,000 fans per game. I believe the championship in 2011 was 10,000, which was a record. Then we broke it in 2013 with 20,000, but we never went above that. I wanted to know, where the hell had these people been? Where were you when we were playing? And now I look back, and that was the wrong attitude because a lot of people did not know that the team existed because it was poorly advertised, so they lived too far away from the city. I was lucky, Matt, that my wife worked for Orlando Health. This is how I found out about the club. I was traveling. I had a job where I traveled the Caribbean and the Southeast, and I was only home on the weekends. Story for another day. Difficult time for our family, but I had to put food on the table. And I got home, and my wife just handed me 8 tickets and said, "Do you want to go to a soccer game?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And then she was telling me, "Oh yeah, the hospital supports this team or sponsored it." And then my answer to that was, why is a hospital supporting a soccer club? I couldn't understand that. In the story, it's obviously, you guys already know where I'm at with that. But yeah, man, I truly understand that because it was so frustrating for me to see all these people like, till this day, a lot of those guys that showed up that day are diehards. But deep inside of me is like, when we needed you the most, when this club and the USL were about to go bankrupt in that 2011 season, where were you? So as a fan base, and I'm telling to St. Louis, and I'll finish with this, and I'm telling to all the St. Louis fans, do not do that, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna cause resentment. You're gonna cause a division, and in Orlando we had that in the first 2 years in MLS. And if those guys walk out the door, that's the last memory they have, and they're always gonna associate the club with that clique of people that rejected me.
Yeah, I'm aware, man. And I've got to reconcile that. I mean, I remember the day that we were announced that the team, someone on Twitter, some guy wrote, "Hey, cool, we've got a pro soccer team in town now." And I started typing out this screed of abuse. And I stopped, and I had to delete it and go, Lord, it's fun. Check us out. And, I have to try and just wrap my head around the fact that it's not about me and my little USL team anymore. It's bigger. But I'm gonna talk to you now, because you talk about going on this journey. You've already been there. You're 5 years ahead of us down the line. You mentioned there that you had 60-odd thousand people at your first game in that big stage. Where are you at now? What's your average attendance now? Why is it dropped? Why are they not coming back? Because what concerns me, and I've said this for years, the first 3 years, it's going to be the bright new thing in town. And if we have seasons like Cincinnati's having, it's going to be like that. And, when it's, and I use the phrase a lot, the shiny and new, it's shiny and new, but soccer's a slog. And if you, in St. Louis, we have the stars where everyone goes and watches the games on a Saturday morning. They're all Chelsea, Man United fans, Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans, Borussia Dortmund fans, Barcelona fans, Real Madrid fans. They are used to watching winning football. They support teams that win week out. What are you going to do to keep people coming?
Matt, if you can't hear me, your screen is frozen. And my apologies, guys. This is live, and let me see if I can get Matt to see this message. All right. So, Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
awesome.
I was on my soapbox there. I was giving it.
Don't worry about it. Pick up where you left off. They're used to watching winning football, you said.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, you mentioned St. Louis FC, and it was sometimes it was downright dire. It was bad football at some point. But you know what? You keep talking about Stevenage. I'll talk about Stockport. One of our guys that came and supports he's a diehard Sunderland fan. You know what? 99% of soccer around the world is shit. It is Stevenage. It is Sunderland. It is Arminia Bielefeld. It is Hamburg. It is Crew Alexandra. It is, that is 99% of football teams. Real Madrid and Liverpool and Bayern Munich, they are the outliers. Get used to watching Dross weekly, because that's what it's going to be.
And I have to tell you, that did happen in Orlando. We went from, our USL experience was different than yours. We were a powerhouse in the league. We won 3 regular season trophies, 2 USL championships, and people were used to winning. And then we went to MLS, and people will be like talking to us, and we're like, oh yeah, we won all these trophies, and people are like, oh, like, great, because that's exactly what we're gonna do here. And that wasn't the case. And then we found out that our owner didn't have a lot of money. We had a lot of decisions made, on financials rather than talent. We dismissed our manager, Adrian Heath, which anybody that is from the USL era will tell you was a mistake. Then we brought Jason Christ, which was another mistake. And then if that mistake wasn't bad enough, then we brought in James O'Connor, who was a beloved player here, but as a MLS manager was horrible. And then we had a front office that was granting players like Dom Dwyer a crap load of money just because in USL he was a great player here. Keyword USL. And then we give him a contract where we can't trade him. And then on top of that, we bring a lot of players for a ton of money. So in other words, I understand that bad things are going to happen, but it's up to the fans to understand this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Bad seasons are going to happen. Football is cyclical. So Matt, we're getting to the end here. I just want you to, any last words to the fans. Obviously, plug in your podcast and any social media that you want to share.
All right, St.louligans, at St.louligans, at This Is Silly. That's our podcast. This Is Silly. It's on all good purveyors of your podcasts. One thing that I'm really proud of that as a group we do is that Brad started the charity work. Has absolutely been a boon for the community. All our charity dollars, and we're over $100,000 for the last 4 years, all goes to our local charities around town, and we're very proud of that. And yeah, just follow me on Twitter. I'm at Louligan and we've got, and this is my little boy Ewan, who's Albert Dequa's best friend. He's wearing his Pittsburgh Riverhounds shirt because he loves Albert Dequa so much. And just it's going to be a journey. We're on a journey for the next couple of years, and we'll see how it goes. But either way, me and Ewan will be at the brand new stadium supporting the team, and we hope that for me it's about results on the field. Everyone's excited for the academy to start. Everyone's excited about the stadium. For me, it's just results on the field. How's that going to be? What happens on the pitch is going to be paramount and drive the failure of the first couple of years of this club.
Absolutely. And now I have an excuse to go see my cousin Vilma, who lives in St. Louis, on an
There you
away
go,
day.
Look, there you go. Yeah.
I'm excited about that, my friend. I've been to St. Louis years ago, back in '94. Beautiful city with a lot of history. And I guarantee it's going to be a fantastic away day. Probably we're going to end up in different conferences, so we're only going to get to see each other once a year. So that's the bad thing about it. But man, I want to thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you, man. I value your opinion on football matters. I've been listening to the podcast. I think when you guys talk about world football and national football, you guys make me feel like I'm in that couch with you guys. It's just
four idiots talking about football. It is what it is.
I'm not an idiot.
That's it, my friend. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not gonna be the last time, Matt. Hopefully, as we get closer to that first game, we definitely have to get together, and things in football happen to come up. I'll definitely I know where to find you.
Yeah,
so, my friends,
thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So this is the end, my friends. Thank you again for joining us in this conversation among friends that football has brought together. If you look at my channel, I intend to have more of these conversations with more football friends. I can be found at Florida_man76 on Twitter. And my podcast, which is in Spanish, is Tiro de Esquina in every application where you consume podcasts. Also, the conversations that we have that end up in the podcast can be found here. I blog in this channel in Spanish and English about American football in general, and my English team, my Israeli team, and Orlando City. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Get in.